Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Welcome back to In the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We are live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew C. Downs and sponsored by Rebelson Distillery out of Osceola, Iowa, and Dan Douglas with Green Beret Realty. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm team partners and Cyclone greats, Brent Curvey and Marcus Spicer. Gentlemen, how are you?
Really blessed, going well. How about you guys?
Good. Can't complain.
And for those of us who are looking for video, we are doing this remotely. And just before everybody jumped on, I think this is the first time that we are broadcasting or podcasting from 3 different time zones for all of us. So
Technology,
we're going to get started.
That is.
Don't you love it? Yeah. So speaking of technology, we have a very special guest on tonight's show. He himself is a legend of both within the entire state of Iowa, obviously within the Iowa State Cyclone University. I want to welcome on joining us tonight, Dan McCarney. Coach, how are you?
Great, guys. Great to be with you. Fun to be part of history. I guess it's the first time we're in 3 time zones, so I always like to be part of history. And then join one of the best podcasts in all of America. I don't know how far-reaching this thing is. Hell with the state of Iowa. This thing, I think you guys deserve to be going coast to coast right now with the job you're doing. And we'll try and have some fun tonight and talk Cyclone athletics. And I don't know if there's been a better time to talk about that than right now.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. You know, the men's basketball team, the rankings came out today or the other day. So what they're sitting at number 5, the women's basketball team is at number 8. Obviously, the football team came out and had a solid win in a tough environment at West Virginia, winning 28-16. They've now been elevated up to number 9. The wrestling program is up there as well. The men's cross country is top 4. Jamie Pollard has a lot to really celebrate. I think we all, as Cyclone fans, have a lot to celebrate.
Yeah, no question. And you know, it's the scoreboard's one thing, as we all know. Your record's important. That's really important, and that's what we're so much of players' careers and coaches' careers is measured on, is the scoreboard. But your legacy is real important too, and that's how you do it. And after just spending time with all 3 of those teams just 12 days ago, I got to watch Billy Finley's women's team practice, talk to their team. I got to watch TJ Otzenberger's team practice on Friday, scrimmage on Saturday morning in Hilton, and talk to their team. Matt Campbell called me down to the locker room after their big victory over Baylor. I got to be around those guys and that staff and the incredible season they're having. And and it's so special right now is how they do it. It's with character, it's with integrity, it's making sure that everybody understands the team's more important than any one individual. And along the way, these college years, as Curveball and Marcus know, they go so fast. So embrace them, enjoy them, have fun, because it's just going to fly by. And it just sure seems like this is one of the all-time great periods of time in Iowa State athletics, led by Jamie Pollard, as you said, the athletic director. You mentioned Kevin Dresser. When we were going to the Rose Bowl in 1985, we won the Big Ten that year. We were all the way ranked up at number 1 for the first time in school history at Iowa. That was the same year Kevin Dresser won the national championship for the Iowa wrestling team. So I'm real aware of him. And let me tell you something, on the mat, now he's doing a really good job, and we're in the top 10 at Iowa State wrestling. But on the mat, he was a badass, man. He was a badass. He was a really, really good wrestler. And I wrestled for Dan Gable my freshman year at Iowa. So I was always tied in with the wrestling program, even I wasn't worth a damn. But we always had great relationship. A little did I know then I was going to be coaching at Iowa and head coach at Iowa State. I brought Dan Gable back a number of times when I was at Iowa State. But we got a really, really good wrestling coach there, and Kevin Dresser too at Iowa State. And he along with the basketball coaches, Matt Campbell, as you mentioned, cross country. There are just so many positive things going on, so many great things going on at Iowa State right now. And let me tell you something, that's pretty rarefied air. Check it out around the country. There's a lot of major disappointments in football programs right now, with everybody having their dreams and aspirations starting in August. A whole bunch of them have major disappointments. And we're clearly one of the great success stories through the first half of the college football season.
I think you missed something, Coach. You wrestled against Dan Gable. What was that like?
No, I didn't wrestle against him. I was smarter than that. No, I was smarter than that. There was a sign in the Iowa wrestling. I went out my freshman year. Gary Kurtelmeyer was the head coach. Dan Gable was the assistant. We were carrying each other up the field house steps in the old Iowa field house. That was part of our winter workouts with the football team. I was just in my freshman year, and there's a guy over there that looks like he just walked out of the library. As you guys know, Gabe's he's not a real imposing figure. And there's a guy over there with glasses on. He gives me the signal to come over there. I came over and he goes, "Hey, McCarney, how you doing?" I said, "Good, Coach. How you doing?" He said, "Listen, what do you think about coming out working out with my heavyweights?" I said, "Coach, I'm not good enough to wrestle at Iowa." He says, "I know. Listen, I watched you wrestle in high school. We just could use another big body to wrestle with our guys. What do you think about coming out?" And he said, "I'll tell you one damn thing. You'll be in a lot better shape with the wrestling team than you ever were working out with this football team." So long story short, I ended up going out. I stayed out. Ever since then, Gabes and I had a really, really good relationship, a lot of mutual respect. And then I ended up obviously coaching with Hayden Fry all those years while Gabes was the head coach, winning 15 national championships. So we go way back. But the point is that not to get too far away from him, Kevin Dresser is a hell of a hire and a really good coach. And it's no matter how cold it gets, you guys know as well as I do, if not better, it's going to be really cold in Ames, Iowa this winter. In Hilton Coliseum, it's going to be blazing hot now with the wrestling team and the basketball.
Well, and one of the things Marcus has talked about before, do you know that he's given you quite a bit of credit for his strength training and his transformation of his body by spending time with you and your team in the weight room?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Marcus, we'd have loved to have you out. I used to watch you, and I'm going, oh my God, there's an all Big 12 freaking tight end. There's an all Big 12 defensive end. I love what I became such a huge college basketball fan back in my Iowa days. I'll tell you when it started, and then I'll shut up. But it started when Ralph Miller coached at Iowa. Denny Green, who went on to be a real successful head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Phoenix Cardinals. He was the position coach. He was a receivers coach at Iowa. And I got to know him through my dad, who was the chief of police at Iowa at the time. I wasn't playing at Iowa yet. I was still in high school, sophomore and junior year. And Denny had done some things. The football team at Iowa got hooked up with the police, not because they were arrested, because they were trying to get out in the community and give back to the community. Denny Green was one of the stalwart guys of doing that and getting to know people in the community. And so he gave me 2 tickets in the old Iowa Fieldhouse, 2 of his student tickets to come to Iowa basketball games when Ralph Miller was coaching. Marcus, they went undefeated that year, didn't lose a game. It's franchise Downtown Brown. It's John Johnson. It's Glenn Vidnovic. It's Dick Jensen. Two of them went on, Brown and Johnson went on to great careers with the Seattle Sonics. And I remember one game, Rick Mount came in from Purdue, scored 60 points in one game, and we still won that day. And there were no 3-point shots. Now think about that. 60 points in the Iowa Fieldhouse against the Iowa basketball team. We still won, and those were all 2-point shots. But I just got to be a great basketball fan back then. And then here comes Lute Olson when I'm coaching, and here comes Tom Davis when I'm coaching. And then I go to Wisconsin, and we got Bo Ryan, and we got Stu Jackson, and we got Stan Van Gundy. And then I go to Iowa State, and Johnny Orr had Hilton Magic going. And then it's Tim Floyd, Larry Eustace, and it's Greg McDermott, and just this phenomenal run of basketball coaches. Then I end up at Florida. We're winning national championships with Urban Meyer, and Billy Donovan's winning national championships in basketball. So I was around some of these phenomenal basketball coaches too, and that's why I'm such a huge fan of men's and women's basketball. But I'm going to tell you what, I will love watching Marcus Spicer play the damn game of basketball, because he played basketball the way you'd like to see a football player play the game. He was physical. he was talented. He had the shot. He would play great defense. But I'm gonna tell you what, he was a physical cat, and I have great admiration for guys that play the game that way. And after watching our men's basketball team practice and our men's basketball team scrimmage just 12 days ago, this might be the one of the deepest, most physical, most talented basketball teams we've had in a long time now, because they're really something. And you guys have seen them, I'm sure. You watch TJ's practices, and the sparks are flying. But from the minute they step on that court to the minute they step off, everything revolves around defense.
In 2023, a crack Green Beret named Dan Douglas retired his military command and promptly escaped to a full-time career in real estate. Today, this man is wanted by home buyers and sellers who want to survive the process without spending a fortune. If you have a home to sell or want to buy one, maybe you can hire Dan Douglas at Green Beret Realty. You can find him at greenberetrealty.com. greenberetrealty.com.
Well, that's good. Yeah, and like Dave was saying, because without a doubt, I mean, I came in as the skinny, scrawny guy, and running into Clay Edwards. I mean, Clay was built like a bodybuilder, and I thought I had all the answers. I thought my talent and skill was just going to take me to the next level, and those guys definitely put it on me. So, I got with the coaching staff, asked them what I can do, and they said, we'll go over there and work out with the football team. I'm going to talk to Coach Mack and see what's going on, talk to Getty, see what's going on. And I was like, I don't think I really wanted that to happen. But, it came about, and, was able to get over there and get some great debilitating workouts in. Got me a lot stronger. But I don't know if you know, but football is my favorite sport, still my first love. Had I gotten a chance or really, really looked into it, Tim Floyd or Coach Stacey probably would have been mad at you, because I definitely would have gave up that basketball for them football pads. But, the rest is history. We were able to play some meaningful basketball games as the Iowa State Cyclone, win some games, and, going from there. But definitely football was a big, major part of my life. I wanted to be as strong as those guys, especially, Reggie was about my height, about my size, but, man, Reggie was way stronger than me. And so I said, man, I got to get in this weight room and try to do something to get bigger and get stronger. And the rest is history, and I definitely appreciate that. And without a doubt, anytime I talk about what transformed my basketball career at Iowa State, I definitely give you credit. I definitely give Coach Getty credit and that whole staff, and I appreciate it to this day.
That's a cool story, Marcus. It really is. And I wish back then we'd have had some NIL money, because I'd have thrown abundance money to get that football team.
Yeah, that would have been a good time.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's Single Barrel Bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa-born, Iowa-aged, Iowa-bottled. Try the new Single Barrel Bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
Coach, you talked a little bit about character, and Coach Campbell talks a lot about that, particularly this year. You know, there's so much talent that's out there from the wide receiver end, and we really go too deep pretty good with the offensive line now. And you look at the running backs that are back there, it seems like every week a different guy stepping up and running for either 100 yards or close to 100 yards. Can you talk about a little bit about the character of your teams that you had? And, you know, obviously Brent was part of that, and, you know, that how that impact has had on those lives of those athletes as adults now?
Yeah, you know, one of the real honors that you have is to get to lead young men, and regardless of their background, as you know, guys, some homes are better than others. Some support, the family from support, sometimes the support from families sometimes much better some places than others. It never really, to me, it just, and to successful head coaches and all the Hall of Fame coaches I've been around, and we've got 3 of them going in the major sports. Matt Campbell will be a future Hall of Famer. Billy Fenley's a lock in any Hall of Fame that's ever out there. TJ Otzenberger's young in his career. Watch, wait and see. He'll be one of the great ones ever that ever coached the game. These are future Hall of Fame guys. And I hope all the Iowa State fans realize that and appreciate it and respect it, because the first thing I mean, I've been around some of the best that ever wore a whistle on the sidelines in the history of the game in our lifetime. The football, that was my love and my first love, but men's basketball, women's basketball. I really got hooked on women's basketball at the University of Iowa with Vivian Stringer. We used to pack Carver Hawkeye. Now, not packing where there was no seats available like with Caitlin Clark, but that's where I really got hooked. And then Billy Fenley and I, as you mentioned earlier, came in at the same time, both inheriting programs where the give a shit factor was non-existent. Nobody gave a shit about football. Nobody gave a shit about women's basketball. It was that bad. But the best leaders that I've ever been around, those incredible leaders, and we have 3 of them in those sports right now. We were obviously we're in the football season right now with Matt Campbell, and the first thing you do, you got to have leaders that really respect the game and respect the integrity of the game. We sure have that with Matt Campbell. The guy's fearless. He's passionate. He makes you think. He makes you laugh. Once in a while, he might make you cry with some of the emotional things that he might say. He lifts you first. He has this courageous spirit. He's authentic. There's so many phonies out there, as you guys know, and I believe me, I've experienced so many of them in my life. We call them empty suits. On the outside, they look good. On the inside, there's not much substance. Everything about Matt Campbell and our football program and the football staff, it's genuine, it's authentic, it's honest. What you see is what you get. Whether we're in the top 10, which we are right now, or it was a blowout loss to Oklahoma last year, or it was the first year when he took the job, and I think we won 3 games. The consistency and the amazing culture that he has in place right now has allowed us to hold our heads high, celebrate many more wins than losses. But I can tell you from being around these, it's such rarefied air for a retired football coach to be asked to come back and be connected to the men's basketball program, the women's basketball program, and the men's football program. And it's because of the loyalty of these head coaches that we have at Iowa State that I'm asked to do that. And when I come back, it's an amazing thing. And I'm sitting there watching TJ coach, and I'm sitting there watching Matt Campbell coach, and I'm sitting there watching Billy Fenley coach. These are 3 really great friends of mine, and they're a gift to all of us that care about Iowa State and love the place. They're a gift to us, and we should appreciate that, and really be honored to be connected to these guys and have them leading our young men and our young women at Iowa State, because it is an amazing time. And look around the country, how many teams, and I know it's been so many people send me stuff all the time, but how many teams right now, preseason men and women's basketball, are in the top 10? along with your football team right now, that's one of the few teams still undefeated, and rightfully so in the top 10 in college football. It's almost unheard of. And of all places, right along the Skunk River in Ames, Iowa, Iowa State University.
That's it.
Love it.
So, Coach, Brent has, told a lot of stories over the years. This is your chance to tell us a little bit of history about Brent and things that you saw. And we've heard things like, how do you connecting when you're on a road game and what that feels like and looks like, and we've heard roommate stories. Give us a little bit of story about Brent Curvey and your experience with him as a player.
Yeah, there wasn't much when we recruited Brent Curvey and Jason Berryman at the same time. We felt like we hit home runs. Honestly, we thought we got guys that maybe we probably shouldn't have gotten. And it didn't matter whether they had 2 offers or 25. I never approached it that way. And that was all the way from taking over as an assistant with Iowa when we were in the bottom 10. Going up Wisconsin as a defensive coordinator with Alvarez, we were in the bottom 10. Going to Iowa State, we were in the bottom 10. Being a part of a national championship at Florida. Going to South Florida, number 2 in the country, and George Selvey was a unanimous All-American for me there. Going to North Texas, and they were in the bottom 10. And listen to this one now. I want to get off on a tangent here. I'll get back to curveball. But this is so cool about young guys getting opportunities and making the most of it, as you guys have. There's a guy named Zach Orr that was my captain at North Texas on our 2013 football team. Listen to this one, curveball. He was a captain. He was undersized. His dad, Terry, played in the NFL a number of years. The first day on the job, Terry Ford came into when I got the job after leaving Florida, and they went to North Texas where Coach Fry came from before he went to Iowa. And he came in, he said, "Listen, Coach, my name's Terry Orr. My son's Zach. You have any problems with my son not going to class, not being respectful to teachers, not being respectful to the training staff, managers, anybody, you make one call to me and you'll never have an issue again with my son." And it was like, oh, God, I love that. Wouldn't it be great if there were more dads that were kind of that way too, And so Zach went on, had a great year for me, but he was undersized. He goes to the Baltimore Ravens as a free agent. Hard to do, makes the roster, leading tackler the first 2 years, and then going into his third year, as you guys know, is such a big NFL contract year, big year. They found an issue with his spinal column, and thank God, before he had an issue and might have ended up in a wheelchair, he still got his health. He's doing great. Harbaugh, smart as he was and intelligent as he is and successful as he is, said, "No, I'm going to keep you in the organization." So he was started out as a personnel guy, just helping out personnel. Then they slip him as an assistant linebacker coach. Then they slip him in as the linebacker coach, gave it to him. Then the defensive coordinator left this out of season. Zach Orr's named the defensive coordinator at 32 years old of the Baltimore Ravens just a few months ago. And they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Monday night up the road up here. So Johnny Sladany, who was our defensive coordinator when Curveball played, Sharon Sladany, myself, we're all going up. We're going to catch that game Monday Night Football, the Ravens against the Buccaneers. And he's got sideline passes, tickets, whatever for us. But it's just so cool to see. 32 years old, and he's a defensive coordinator. So don't think he doesn't have a rocket tied to his ass. He'll end up being a head coach in the NFL before. But getting back to curveball, when Mike Nelson, who was the lead recruiter down there, recruited those two, we thought we hit home runs. And it's not like you're sitting there going, okay, we just hope we get a bunch of guys that we hit singles with. We're always trying to find those guys that maybe didn't get as many opportunities or offers as some of the other players that might have come out of high school. And it wasn't like they didn't have any offers or any opportunities, but we just felt like we hit home runs with Jason Berryman and Brent Curvey. And boy, were we right. They were athletic. They were tough. They were courageous. They had pride. They were coachable. And making that transition, as Marcus and Curveball know, that ain't easy now. And then somebody's up your ass all the time about being on time, go to class, go be on time for a tutor, You got to train. You got to go see the trainers. We got 5:30 workouts in the out of season. I mean, that's hard. And then to make that transition, but those guys, and Curveball was one of the great examples of that. He had this freaking pride about him, and I'm sure it started in the home that he came from. Just pride about being successful, doing it right. It didn't matter. I'm not going to sit around and wait 3 damn years to play. I'm going to leave my mark. I'm going to start my legacy right away. And for a guy that had one of the, just, you know, you look at him, he's not quite as tall as you want. Everybody's just a little bit taller and all that. Good luck trying to consistently block Brett Curvey for an offensive lineman. And he made veterans and older guys look silly at Iowa State. And then everybody that we started playing is that schedule unfolded. So I have nothing but respect and love by dying day. That was one of the great success stories we ever had, was Curveball playing for us at Iowa State.
Hey, Brad, how many times did Coach make you run stairs?
I mean, that was more Coach Nelly than Coach Mack. But
yeah, I'll shut up. But I always left it up to the assistant coaches. If there's an issue, there's a problem, that's you. If you don't want to handle it, there's a lot of guys who want to come and coach at Iowa State. I'll hire their ass and fire your ass. So take care of it. But there weren't many times, because Curveball was all in, both feet, heart and soul. Let's do something special here at Iowa State, and he was amazing that way.
yeah,
I think what's been remarkable is watching Coach Campbell take this young team and do what he's done with it. And he's got a very senior defensive coordinator. You have a very young offensive coordinator that has just come in and done some things. Do you see some parallels between this year's team and that special? And you had a couple of special years, but you had that early season team that started off, I think, 6-1. The infamous Seneca was in year. Do you see any parallels between any of your teams and this year's team?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. You know, the neat thing about it is when we were back, we had a reunion. Matt, we had such a, you know, my guys that played for me, we put a thing together, just a reunion with guys that played for me a couple of years ago, and Matt, in the summertime, and it was just an amazing thing, and just so cool to be welcomed back there at Iowa State, and you know, just to relive those memories and those great years that we had, and the phenomenal history that we made together. And Matt was so impressed with the job that those guys did, and it was led by Zach Butler and Eric Anderson and some of those guys that jumped in there that really put it together. We had a tremendous turnout. He was so impressed. He wanted to do one for anybody that ever played at Iowa State. If you were on great teams or horseshit teams or winning teams or bad teams, didn't matter. You pulled on the shoulder pads and helmet at Iowa State, come on back. So the first year, this past spring, we had about 140, I think 150 come back for the first year to play golf and be there. It was really special. But I got a chance to talk to Matt a lot, because we have a really, really good relationship and friendship. And I'm just so honored to have him, call him a friend. And he just said at the time, he said, you know, Mac, he said, I just love this team. I just love being around them. I've had very few issues off the field. There's really good chemistry. And as you guys know, Marcus and Curveball, as well as anybody, chemistry on a football team and a basketball team starts with chemistry on a staff. You better have chemistry on a staff first. You expect to have it on your team with your players. And there's just great chemistry, and there's an unselfishness, and somebody goes down. We've not lost many, but we lose the middle linebacker that took on Jack Whitmer's number. Is Jack, you know, symbolically wanted to wear that number, number 26. Jack's fighting the brain tumor right now, as valiantly as he ever did as a player at Iowa State. And when somebody goes down, we have somebody step up, whether it's a scholarship player, a veteran, a young guy, a walk-on. It just doesn't matter, because there's just this great chemistry and real confidence. And then to pick out a team, it's kind of hard to compare, but when you see a team that just won't flinch when the shit hits the fan and adversity hits, or a tough time hits, or we get in the hole, which we have 2 or 3 times, or maybe 4 times already this year in the first half of the season, we don't flinch. It's okay. We're all right, including the 13-0 deficit over in Iowa City. But we got behind last week. This team has some real maturity about it, which means the leadership on the team, the leadership in the locker room, as Marcus and Curveball know, that's as much or more important than the leadership from the coaching staff. If the locker room leadership by those players is so strong, we'll be fine. Shit, it's a fan. Adversity hits. We get behind. So what? And that was a tough environment last week. Now, that's not a great West Virginia team, but I think it's a solid one in a really tough environment. And our guys didn't flinch. They did. So what? We get a little behind. We make a few mistakes. They made some plays. We didn't. We'll be back. We're going to win this game. And you just see that confidence and that trust in one another, players and coaches, coaches and players, players and players, coaches and coaches. The communication's great. And you just feel that the great teams that I was around, and I know those guys, Marcus and Curveball, can relate to it. The great teams that you're around, you stop and think about it. You chose that team and that coaching staff because you believed in them. They chose you to bring you to that university because they trusted in you and believed in you. And if that thing just permeates throughout the team, then you can get through the hard times and the tough times and still have great success. And that's what's just so fun to watch this team right now, because you never know who the next success story is going to be. There might be somebody else where you got to pull out that program. Who the hell is that? Somebody that hasn't played much, but they're making a big play on special teams, or they're stepping in there, or the running back that scores 3 touchdowns last week. Who was that? Troy Davis in there? A Heisman candidate? No. It's a guy that just is a hard-nosed, tough, physical cat that comes in there and contributes. So I just think the culture is really, really strong. The leadership obviously is amazing. We've got one of the really elite coaching staffs in the country in our football program under Matt Campbell's leadership, and that's what makes it so much fun to go back. And I'm telling you, I was with the Dirty 30 when I went back for the Baylor game, and I'm talking to those guys, and I'm trying to explain a couple plays and a couple flags that were thrown and all that stuff. And I'm sitting out there watching it, and the damn hair standing up on the back of my neck, just watching that team and the toughness and the togetherness and the chemistry and how hard they play. And as we all know, that's one of the most important things. Is this a tough, physical, well-coached, disciplined team? Hell yes. And that's why I think there's some more great days ahead as the season unfolds to the second half of it.
What a time to be a Cyclone, baby.
Yeah, it is. Hey, Brent, we were, as we're talking about leadership extends to obviously on the field, but then in that locker room too. Who are some of the leaders that were on some of your teams with Coach, and are they the typical names that we might hear as fans, or did you have some guys that were more behind the scenes? Maybe they were walk-on guys that just gave that little bit of extra something that pushed the rest of the team along.
Well, I mean, so Ellis Hobbs was always a major leader. Tim Dobbins, obviously, those names are names that people might know, but their impact in the locker room was just as big as it was on the field. Because those were guys that, I just remember a sign being in the bathroom when we were there, and it was something to the effect of never let the other guys, never let them see you down, so to speak. And that was one of those things that between Ellis and Tim, Robo and Nick Leaders and all of that, you felt like you did yourself a disservice not giving them your 100%. And, they went on and had great careers and all of those things, man. But, those guys for me, they just really showed me what it was like to really lead it. Austin Flynn was another one. Hardworking dudes. Didn't do a lot of rah-rah. There are some guys that do a lot of talking and they'll get you hyped up and all of that, but they were guys that led more so with their actions, and it made everybody else kind of fall in line. So those are the ones that immediately popped their head for me.
Well, yeah, because you had Austin Flynn moving from quarterback position to wide receiver, and actually he was a very good wide receiver for you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he ended up all Big 12 as a wide receiver, and I'll never forget him. I'm down recruiting down in Houston, Texas, in Deer Park High School. First thing he did was introduce me to his girlfriend at the time, who ended up being his wife. And I'm looking at him, I'm going, God bless it. I'm not sure. We got to look at a little more on the football to make sure on that part of it. But being able to attract that girlfriend, we better recruit this guy now. He's got some special talents now. His wife, just beautiful, classy, and then of course Austin's down. He's another one of those guys coaching right now. When I went to the high school, not to bounce around, but I was asked to come back the last couple of years and speak to the Iowa high school coaches clinic in Prairie Meadows in February, and there's over 1,600 coaches in the state of Iowa. Now think about that. In the state of Iowa in February, there's over 1,600 coaches that come into that thing. It's a hell of a deal. But one of the really cool things is I've got over 25 guys that played for me at Iowa State that are coaching in the state of Iowa, giving back. Curveball is one of them that's done that, but give back to the game that was so good to them. And it's just so cool to see that. I was talking to a search committee today and an athletic director trying to help another one of my guys. I can't talk about it and bring his name up right now, but they're going to start football in the state of Iowa at NAIA football. And of course, Joe Woodley, who played for me as a captain, Mike Woodley, Curveball knows real well, was on my staff. Joe has not lost a regular season game since taking over the head job at Grandview. He's like 61-0. So I ran down with a couple of my guys that played for me at Iowa State to go down there and cheer for Joe the morning of the Iowa State Baylor game. And in fact, we met up the night before, and about 6, 7, 8 of us got together and grabbed a couple of quick beers. Wished Joe luck. He couldn't stay out. He had a big game the next day. So we go back down and watch his game the next morning, and he's nervous now. He said, Matt, how about this? What do I do? He just asked me a couple of questions, and is your team ready? And how would you handle this? And I could tell he's really uptight until halftime of the game when he's coming off, and I'm sitting there standing there in the end zone with Mike Woodley and his wife Betsy, and the score at halftime is 48-0, and Joey runs off the field. He goes, Matt, what the hell do I tell him? I said, listen, Joey, you don't need a Newt Rockney speech right now. You're up by 50 freaking points. Just stay focused. You'll be fine. And, of course, they went on, blew him out, and he's doing a great job. I don't give a damn what level of football, where you're at in America. You don't lose. You play 61 games and have not lost a regular season game. What a great job Joey Woodley's done there. So it's just so fun to see these guys giving back to the game that was so good to them.
And coaching your career, you had a lot of big games. Are there any games that stand out for you in terms of your halftime speeches that you just remember that lit the fire that you had wanted to see in the second half? Or maybe it was a pregame speech that you gave without necessarily going into the details of the speech itself, but is there a game or two that you really remember which some of those talks really had an impact on the team?
Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff's overrated, to be honest with you. The work is done during the week. The approach, your attitude. Are you coming back from a great victory and trying to make sure they stay hungry and keep the edge? Are you coming back from a really gut-wrenching close loss where everybody gave everything they had? You came up just a little bit short. Are you coming out of just a complete ass kicking against a team that was ranked in the top 5 or top 10 in the country, and that stuff happened? Where you just want to hug them and love them up, even though we got to get ready for another football game. I think some of that stuff's overrated. I honestly, by the time you get to the locker room on game day, there's not a lot of great messages that's going to change anything. I always felt like the things that were done during the week, I always wanted players' input. They used to call it a cyclone cheer because I gave my players opportunities just to say a few words. We didn't need any long dissertations, but just to talk about the meaning of the game. Those were some of the most meaningful things that I ever remember. I always really look forward to Friday nights with my football team at the hotels because it's kind of, this is it, baby. Now, tomorrow we're going out in Jack Trice Stadium, or we're going to Nebraska, or we're going to Oklahoma, or we're going to Texas, or we're going to Texas A&M, or we're going to Missouri, or we're going to Colorado, or we're going to Iowa City, or all the places that we played through the years. But it's us. And I wouldn't want to be I wouldn't want to be with anyone else or anywhere else in the country than with my guys. And those Friday night talks to me I thought those things maybe had a little more meaning to let my guys think about it the night before the game. But there was one time, honestly, that I probably was as upset as I ever was as a head coach. It was 2002 when we were playing in Iowa City. We'd stopped the 15 years of embarrassment and losing to Iowa, and not only losing but getting your ass kicked all the time, which Iowa State did. We stopped that. We were 29.5-point underdogs in 1998, led by Todd Bandauer, the defense. Kevin Wilson blocked the punt. We ended up winning 27-9. So instead of getting blown out by 30, which everybody expected, we kicked their ass 27-9. And then we went 6-6 the next 12 years that I was at Iowa State, and we turned it back into a really good rivalry. 2002, now we're going for 5 in a row against Iowa, which was unheard of. And they had a hell of a team. They went on, keep this in perspective now, guys. They went on to go undefeated in the Big Ten that year. Brad Banks was a Heisman candidate. They were loaded. I'm talking about loaded. But going in at halftime, we were down 24-7. But it was one of those games. If you could ever get the feeling, it felt like 44-7. That's how bad we were. That's how bad a job I did as the head coach getting them ready. That's how bad the players were. And in the old Kinnick Stadium, which I spent 2 decades, in fact, my freshman year, our locker room was the halftime room at the bottom of about 100 steps that takes you up to the Kinnick Stadium. There's locker room. So it was just spontaneous, but I was so upset. I remember coming off the field, 24-7, they're laughing at us, and it's going to be a blowout, and you suck and you stink, and they're throwing shit at us as we come into the tunnel. And I told my coaches, I said, listen, all I want is the starters in the halftime room. I remember John Sladany and a couple of coaches, well, what do you want me to do? What should we do with the rest of them? I said, I don't give a shit. Keep them on the steps out here. I don't want any starters. That's it. So I went in there, we shut the door, and then I just said some things from my heart to the team. And I don't know if that speech had much to do with it, but there was just so much pride. And we were going to get the ball the first series. I said, hey, Senny, we can go down and score and get right back in this game, or we can go out there and flop around. I said, honestly, Kirk Ferentz and I are really good friends. We spent 10 years together. I can go out there with a white flag. If we're going to go out there and go through the motions, get our ass kicked, and embarrass our university like the way we did in the first half, I'll just tell them we've had it. That's enough. You're better. No mas, no more. Or we can come out here and fight, scratch, and claw, and at least hold our heads high. But I don't know what team that is that's out there. It sure as hell hasn't been the one that I've been coaching the last few weeks. And Seneca came out and responded and took the offense down. We scored. Goddamn Tim Tabrink curveballs looked like Mean Joe Green in the second half. He forced 3 turnovers as a defensive lineman. Jeremy Lloyd, we get a safety. We come roaring back. We end up winning 36-31. It was one of the great comebacks. And I've been part of a lot of comebacks. That was one of the great comebacks I'd ever been a part of. And I don't know that the halftime speech had that much to do with it, but it just was what I wanted to do at the time. I just wanted my starters and me say, listen, it's just us in here, okay? And I won't say all the other things that I said because some of it wasn't I'm not proud of, but and I did have a sore hand for about 2 weeks afterwards. I don't know who I punched with my 2 weeks, but I knew there was something more to this team, and I just done such a poor job, and we didn't resemble the team that I'd been coaching. It like we all know, if you go down, just be proud. Be not proud of the loss, but just that you gave everything that you had. And we were so far from that in the first half, but we came back. And to this day, I got a lot of Iowa teammates, former Iowa players. Mac, you no good SOB. You cost us a shot at the national championship that year by beating us. And I'm going, oh, yeah, I feel really bad about that. Oh, yeah. I lay awake at night. I'm so worried. I'm so upset about that one. I was never more proud of a team in a second half comeback in any place I'd ever been than that one.
Hey, Brent, what types of things have you taken from coach and have incorporated? And obviously you've done some football coaching of your own. Have you taken, whether it's drills or just some of the motivational things that Mac had talked to your teams about? Have you carried anything over into your coaching?
Well, I think Coach Mac just really gave a damn just about his players in general. And I think that in itself just makes guys a little bit more motivated. Because I say it all the time, like listening to Coach Mac talking is still to this day, the hair starts to kind of raise up on the back of my neck, like, oh shit, like is it time to suit up and get back out here? He just, just one of those guys that, and I don't think it was never a rah-rah. He always spoke to me from the heart, and it was always sincere, and it was just real. And I think, me as a coach now, you got to approach some kids a little different. Obviously, I'm in high school, so it's a little bit different with the way you got to communicate with these kids, especially nowadays, because they'll, crumble, and next thing you know, pads are getting tossed or left in the locker room or some shit, and they'll never come back. But, I still try to approach all these kids like I care, because I do. And I just want to give back to the game that just, gave me so much opportunity and so many things that I've been blessed to have because of it. So, man, he was a player's coach, and I still try to be one of those myself, and get a lot of guys to come over and they respect the hell out of me, and even from the other sideline I get the same type of love and respect from other coaches. So I think more than anything, I'd say I try to be the best players coach I can be, because I know if they respect me, they'll go out there and play for me. So,
one thing I'll just say, and Curveball will find this out as time goes on. The older you get, I've had to say goodbye to family and teammates, and I've had to do 3 eulogies in the last few months with Iowa teammates and former players, former coaches, people you grew up with, high school teammates, family members, again, I mentioned, but just, I didn't have to lose people to have such a deep appreciation for the opportunities I had in life, and to be around all these phenomenal young people. And when you're talking about Marcus Fizer and Brent Curvey, you're talking about just not only really fantastic people on the court and on the football field, but just what a joy, what an honor to get a chance to coach those guys. And then the rest of your life, these guys will always be my guys. They're always going to be my guys. If my ass is gone in 2 weeks, when I go up that final sunset, whatever it is, I've had 2 near-death experiences. I had a stroke where half my body went numb, a quadruple bypass already, where I had 4 arteries that were 95% blocked, including the Widowmaker. I should have been dead. I don't say it for a pat on the back or anything, but I have a great appreciation for every day that I have. But the players that I coach, they're always going to be my guys. Oh. And those guys that embraced those challenges that had eroded the program at Iowa State to its core for so long, and they were so bad and so just, they weren't relevant. There was no hope. Everybody wanted Iowa State for homecoming. We're coaching games that first couple of years at Iowa State. We got goddamn homecoming games on the road in September, October, November. You wonder why we're the homecoming opponent? Because they knew they were going to kick our ass. And they bring in all their money people and all their donors and all their former players. And then the better we got, the less we start showing up on homecoming games for other teams. But it just you just have this deep appreciation for your guys that bought in and believed when there wasn't a lot of reasons to buy in or to believe. And that's when you see Matt Campbell, what he's got going right now. They believe, they're confident. There's a difference between being arrogant and really confident. We don't play with arrogance. We play with confidence. They believe they're going to win. And one of the, as these guys know, 2 or 3 of the most important statistics in the game of football is lack of penalties. We're in the top 2 or 3 in the nation. In fact, Iowa and Iowa State are both 2 of the least penalized teams in the country. Phenomenal. And then on defense, the 2 most important statistics, I don't give a damn who the coordinator or who the head coach or what the conference is or what decade or what year you're in. It'll always be scoring defense. It'll always be turnovers. 2 most important statistics. How many points do you give up? We're way up there in the top 10 again this year under John Haycock's leadership, and we're way up there again in turnover margin. You wonder why we have a chance. We're low on penalties. We're great on scoring defense. We're great in the turnover margin. Our offense just keeps getting better and better. We got a quarterback that has great moxie. When the game's on the line, I want that cat out there playing. And obviously, there's a lot of major disappointments in the Big 12 right now. There's some good teams, And then it appears like right now, going into the second half of the season, the two best teams playing each week right now are Iowa State and BYU. And if we can continue that and get to that Big 12 championship game, I think both those teams, whoever's in the Big 12 championship game, and I got a great feeling that's going to be one of them is going to be the Cyclones. The top two teams in our league should be in the playoffs because it's a hell of a conference. It's a really good conference. Even saying goodbye to Texas, who's number one in the country, and they got a hell of a team, and saying goodbye to Oklahoma, who's overrated, no matter what they're rated right now. They're okay. They're not great. But this is still a really good conference, and I think the top two teams in our league got a great chance to be in the playoffs.
Hey, Coach, we're going to start to close out, but one question I had for you, Steve Loney, who was an OC for you, I felt like his offenses were very dynamic, and there seemed to be a lot of flexibility and some interesting wrinkles that he would throw into the offense in terms of motions and that. Do you see some similarities with Taylor Mauser? In Coach Mouse has been teased for pulling some plays off of the video off of Madden and College Football 25, which I think is hysterical to even consider. But could you maybe draw a parallel between Coach Mauser and Coach Loney? Is there any there, or am I just looking into that?
No, I've never thought of it that way. But Lone Dog was one I spent 95% of my career in the Big 10, Big 12, SEC. 21 bowl games, part of a winless season, part of a national championship, Rose Bowls, Orange Bowls, Sugar Bowls, Hall of Fame, all these amazing bowl games, Holiday Bowl, Inside.com Bowl, first bowl win in 100 years of Iowa State. We're going to have our 25th anniversary. Think about that. You don't think I'm getting to be an old bastard. 25 years this next. But Steve Loney was clearly one of the best assistant coaches I had ever been around. Now, of course, he had passion for Iowa State. Of course, he had love for Iowa State. Of course, he had loyalty. But just flat out one of the best assistant coaches that any head coach could ever be lucky enough to have. Steve Loney was that guy now. The real deal. And one of the many things that Jamie Pollard has done that's really helped Matt Campbell, that a lot of times it gets overlooked. It shouldn't, but it's real important. The salary structure now, taking care of Iowa State coaches, paying them so they don't want to jump. I lost coaches to other college jobs because they could make $50 or $75 or $100,000 more. I lost two coaches to the NFL because they could make more money. If an assistant could go be a coordinator, God bless them, go. If a coordinator can become a head coach, God bless them, go. But to lose guys because they could just make more money with basically the same responsibilities, that's a damn shame. And it happened to me. And Steve Loney left, and I didn't blame him one bit. And Tony Alford left. I didn't blame him one bit. Both those guys came back. You know why? Because they loved Iowa State. They loved Ames, Iowa. They loved being a part of that program. They came back. I lost Pete Hayner. I lost Jay Norvell. I lost some guys because I couldn't pay them. Well, that's not an issue right now anymore because of what Jamie's done with the salary structure at Iowa State. We're paying those guys really well. And you don't have to be the highest paid in America, but Ames is a great place to raise a family. It's a great town. It's a phenomenal place. But Steve Loney, played offensive line, coached offensive line, but had a hell of a mind. He was innovative. He was a really, really good game day coach, great communicator, and just did a beautiful job. I love what our young offensive coordinator, Mouse, is doing. I love what he's doing. And that's not an easy play. Okay, jump in there. Now you're a coordinator. Now we're going to go challenge for a Big 12 championship, and we're going to hopefully try and get to the playoffs, and we want to be nationally ranked, and it's your first chance to go be an offensive coordinator in a Power 4 program. That's not easy, but he's doing a tremendous job. But it just speaks so well to the staff that Matt has assembled. They're elite. They're tough. They're together. Players respect them. There's just so many great days ahead, and it's just such a fun time to be part of it now at Iowa State. But it's easy to get excited, obviously, and it means so much, and I appreciate all that you guys do to keep talking about Iowa State athletics, because to my dying day, it'll be one of my favorite places that I've ever been a part of. And the memories that we made together, Curveball, nobody will ever take them away, man. Nobody will ever take them away. And it was a joy to be your head coach and an honor to be there. and I love sitting in the stands and watching Marcus Pfizer play his ass off in Hilton Coliseum too.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you, man. Really do. More than you
well,
know.
Obviously, Ames is now a place that is synonymous now with winning with all these top 10 teams. And Coach, love having you on. Obviously, the passion remains there for Iowa State. Our passion for you remains in place as well. You taught us, you laid that groundwork for this year's team, whether you will accept that or not. But without Dan McCarney, I don't know that we have this program in place that we have and all the infrastructure that's been put in place. So on behalf of the Brent and of Marcus and Chris Shipley who's on, and obviously the entire Iowa State fan base, thank you so much for being on tonight, and really thank you for setting the stage for what's become the 9th ranked now football team up in Ames, Iowa.
You'll hear me screaming. I'll be in Sarasota this weekend watching the game. You'll hear me screaming all the way from Sarasota, Florida. I promise you. So we'll keep up the great work, guys. Thanks for all you do now for Iowa State. Thanks for Marcus and Curveball, what you guys did. Tremendous careers, and then just to have the continued respect and love and admiration and respect for Iowa State and helping to promote what's going on up there. That's really a cool thing. So thanks a lot, guys. Honored to be with you. Love you. Take good care, guys. Go Cyclones.
All right, go Cyclones. And everybody else, again, thanks for joining us tonight with this special episode with Coach Dan McCarney. And again, pack the jack this weekend. We can't reinforce this enough. Got to get everybody up in Ames. Build Jack Trice Stadium, so we are loud and proud against UCF. Another night game. I think it's our 4th in a row. Let's make sure they're all there. And before you head on up, make sure you stop by Coach's Kolaches there in Urbandale, Clive. Brent, what is the address?
2777 100th Street in Urbandale.
I'm going to get this right eventually. 2777 100th Street in Urbandale. Stop on in before you head on up to tailgate, and we'll see you all next time for On the Side of the Storm.